All right, let's talk about collaborations. We've all been there, right? You get on a call, everyone's excited, and then it just fizzles out. Today, we're going to dive into a framework for building partnerships that actually work, ones that have a real structure, not just good intentions.
You know that feeling, don't you? That initial spark of a great idea for a partnership, a bunch of exciting emails, and then, poof, crickets. It's such a common and, honestly, a super frustrating experience. So what gives? Why do so many of these promising collabs just die in the line?
And this really gets at a core paradox in the way we all try to work together. Everybody wants to collaborate. It's the big buzzword. But the hard truth is most of these attempts just don't go anywhere. There's this huge gap between wanting to partner up and actually getting real results from it. And here's why. It's not because people are lazy or have bad intentions. It's because most collaborations are built on nothing more than goodwill. And look, goodwill is great. It's the spark, but it's not the engine. Goodwill is a finite resource, and if you don't have a solid structure underneath it, that tank is going to run empty every single time.
Okay, so if goodwill isn't enough, what are the hidden tripwires? What are the things that are secretly derailing our best efforts to work together? Let's pull the curtain back and look at why these things consistently fall apart.
This quote from Nate Scott just nails it. Economics always show up. You can try to ignore the money side of a partnership, you can put it off, but eventually it will come up. Someone's going to ask, what's in it for me? And if there isn't a clear, solid answer, that's when things start to get shaky.
And that usually leads to this classic trap. The whole thing becomes a zero-sum game. You know, we're fighting over the same small pool of potential revenue. Suddenly, instead of being partners, we're competitors. We're protecting our turf, we're a little suspicious, and the whole collaborative spirit just evaporates.
And then there's the other big problem, the clunky intro. You've been there. You're trying to explain what your partner does, and you're just fumbling for the words. It's awkward. It's slow. Every single introduction creates friction instead of flow. It's like trying to drive a car with the parking brake on. You might move, but it's going to be a painful, grinding process. All right, so we've diagnosed the disease. Now let's talk about the cure. How do we actually design a partnership that avoids all these traps? Well, it starts by changing the entire focus of what you're even collaborating on in the first place. The big idea here is to build your partnership around what we'll call a universal product or service. This is something that's so obviously valuable to almost anyone that it doesn't need a hard sell. So for instance, instead of a life coach and a financial advisor trying to awkwardly refer clients to each other, what if they collaborated on a free, super simple budgeting tool? The tool is universally helpful, it solves a real problem, and it naturally gets people thinking about both coaching and financial advice. See the difference? It's not a pitch, it's an invitation.
And when you do this, it just changes the entire dynamic. First off, it gets rid of all that salesy friction. It feels generous. Second, you're not competing anymore. You're both adding value around this shared thing. Third, you now have a shared language, that tool or service that makes talking about the partnership easy. And you know what? Money stops being the main point of tension and becomes a natural byproduct of all the value you're creating together.
Oh, and this approach works as an amazing filter. It really shows you who's serious and who's just looking for a shortcut. The people who only want access to your audience without taking on any real responsibility, they'll run from this. The true partners, the ones who want to create value, they'll lean in.
So that's the big idea. Now let's get down to the brass tacks. How does this actually work? What are the roles? And what does the model look like in practice?
The way to think about it is really simple, actually. Just imagine a theater. There's a front stage and there's a backstage. By dividing up the roles this way, everybody knows exactly what their job is and they can focus on what they do best.
So on the front stage, that's the partner. They're the face. They're the one with the trust and the relationship with the community. Their job isn't to sell, it's simply to invite people to something valuable. Then you've got the backstage. That's the system architect. They're the one who builds the engine. They create the tool. They run the process. They make sure everything works perfectly.
And the process itself is super clear. It all starts with a simple alignment conversation to make sure you're both on the same page. Then the partner just invites their people to what we call a clarity session. This is crucial. It's an evaluation, not a pitch. From there, people can try out the system for 90 days, and the whole time you're just documenting the results. The goal is to build a case study, not to create hype.
But here's where it gets really powerful. The benefits of doing it this way go way beyond just a new revenue stream. The true payoff is that this model solves some of the deepest, most frustrating problems that coaches, community leaders, and experts face every day.
So for your partner, this isn't just nice, it's a total game changer. For the first time, maybe ever, they get to see their people actually take action and get results. The trust that builds is incredible. They get real, documented proof of their impact. And honestly, the biggest benefit of all is just relief.
Because this quote right here, this captures the hidden pain that so many leaders feel. You pour your heart and soul into teaching and guiding people, but you also carry this heavy emotional weight when they don't follow through. It is exhausting.
This model is the antidote to that burden. You get to stop persuading and start providing. You're not trying to convince people to change anymore. Instead, you're giving them a structure, a system that allows them to change themselves. That emotional weight, it just lifts.
So ultimately, that's the shift we're talking about. We're moving away from these flimsy collaborations based on a few nice conversations and toward building robust, sustainable ecosystems. We're talking about creating something that actually lasts, something that compounds value for everyone involved over the long haul.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. What is the execution gap for your audience? What's that one thing they know they should do, but they just can't seem to get done? Because finding the answer to that question, well, that might just be the starting point for the best partnership you've ever had.